Let's take a look under the hood and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Holy cow, look at all the stuff under here. Well, these modern vehicles are almost impossible to work on. Oh, I sure miss the good old days with all the old vehicles. They were simple to do maintenance on. Just a dwell meter and a tachometer and you could fix just about anything. Where does a person even start? I've heard that said many times, that it's so much easier to work on the old vehicles, and these modern vehicles, it's very difficult if not impossible to work on. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's just not true. I've worked on a lot of old vehicles. I've restored old vehicles. I've got the tools to do it, and sometimes it's really tough to get them tuned up and running the way they're supposed to be. These modern vehicles are a lot easier because you have diagnostic tools available to tell you quickly what's the matter, what needs to be replaced. You can get the part, get it put on, and you're running smoothly again. Watch this video if you want to find out how that's done. I'm going to start this video today with a bit of a disclaimer. I'm going to be using some diagnostic software that's particular to this brand of vehicle, and that software not only allows me to look at error logs and see what the vehicle's doing, but there are areas of that software where I can go in and actually make changes to the settings in the computer on this vehicle. So unless you are familiar with working with vehicles and how they operate and have some experience with that, I would suggest that you gain some knowledge of that first, or work with someone that does have that knowledge before you jump into this. So if you don't know a brake caliper from a lower control arm, I'd suggest that maybe you need to do a little background work before you get into this. And with that said, another little background on why I'm talking about this. I've used this type of software on a number of vehicles over the years, and used it to just correct minor problems or see what's going on. In this particular vehicle, it's a fairly late model, but one of the things we noticed over the past few weeks were some issues with some of the features, like touching the passenger side door handles to unlock the doors. It wouldn't recognize that anymore. Or using your foot to open the back hatch by swinging your foot underneath the back bumper. That stopped working. And then we got a couple notifications on the dashboard on the screen that said there were some battery issues that we needed to consider conserving battery use. And another thing that stopped completely was the auto engine shut off at stoplights, intersections, and restarted the engine. So I did some research and I found out that that could mean your battery is starting to lose power. The battery in this is only a couple of years old, or was only a couple of years old, so I found that to be a bit unusual, but I hooked up my software, and sure enough, in the error codes, that's what it indicated. There's some weakness in the battery. So I did some other testing on the side, where I did some amperage testing at start on the battery with the meter, and found out that yes, the battery was way below the level it needed to be, so I replaced the battery. And the sum total of that is, I completely did not expect in warm weather to have battery issues, but that's what happened, and that's what some of these vehicles do to your battery. So I reset the error logs, I got a new battery and put it in, and everything's been fine ever since. Now I know what to watch for, and with this software, it pointed me in the right direction to get the problem fixed. So let's take a look at how to use this software. First of all, you're going to need an ODB connection cable to hook up to your vehicle to connect your computer, which you'll be running the diagnostic software on, to the ODB connector, which means onboard diagnostics. And those are typically located underneath the steering wheel and are easily accessed underneath the dash. So today what we're going to do, we're going to start out by plugging that cable in and connecting to the computer, and we're going to start the computer up and open up the software program. Get started on connecting to the vehicle and taking a look at what's going on. I've got the ODB connector cable plugged into the USB port on my Surface Pro. I like to use a Surface Pro because it's a small, convenient device to use, Windows-based, runs the software really well. I have a larger notebook computer, but that gets to be a little awkward and cumbersome in here, so handy device, gets the job done. I have also my fob close by because I have to turn the vehicle on to accessory power in order to read the computer. You need to make sure you have that, or at least the key in the ignition so you can turn it to accessory mode so you can watch things. So I'm going to connect this, and you can see that this has a specific shape on the connector that matches up with the ODB port down here. Plug that in. The light turns green, telling me I'm connected to a computer. Now, to connect to the computer on the vehicle, I have to go into accessory mode. So I'm going to hit the button here. I have turned off the environmental system, the heat cooling system in here. Don't want that running, and I'm going to turn the lights off. I don't need the lights on draining the battery. Now I'm going to tell the software to connect, and it's telling me to make sure that I have the ignition in the on position, but the engine not started, which I do. It's telling me that I may not have optimal speed to check my connector. Well, my connector is an auto speed connector, so it will adjust by itself. It sees what the vehicle information says, asks me if that's the one I want to work with because I have it also logged in my system. I tell it yes, and it begins to read the log. It found all the modules in the vehicle, and at this point I don't see anything wrong. I can look at the vehicle configuration, tells me how all the different modules are set up, what level. Then here are the DTC codes, and to see if there is a code showing up. There is no code showing up. If I was running the engine, I could turn on the oscilloscope and I could see what the engine is doing, how it's running. That's a little trickier, and if you're going to do that while you're driving, make sure somebody else is watching the oscilloscope. You want to see what acceleration is doing, those types of things. And then here are a series of self-tests that you can run, on-demand self-test. I'm not going to run any of those right now. And then I can get into the modules themselves and reconfigure them. And you can configure specific things about what the seats are doing, the mirrors are doing, different security features on the vehicle. A lot of them can be configured through the control here on the steering wheel, through the computer, or you can do it here and sometimes get in more depth. One of the things I've done on all of this style of vehicle is I've turned off that obnoxious double beep when the engine's running and you step out and you close the driver door, you get that obnoxious double beep, and sometimes depending on where you are and the time of day, that can be very irritating, so I always turn that off. And here's where you need to be very careful with what you're doing. It's one thing to look at the results of the tests and clear the error log, but don't get into this part unless you have a very specific plan for what you want to do and what you want to change. And I suggest not doing anything with the engine configuration or drivetrain configuration. Anyway, you've got settings here for the software, the language, the unit of measurement, and then information about your license for this software. This software is $10 a year, and I get all the updates. Very affordable for what I'm trying to do. So there's an overview. I'm not going to go in here and change anything. Like I said, I have nothing to change right now. I've got everything configured the way I want it. That'd be a little bit in depth. The point here today is to show you that if you've got some experience working with vehicles or some knowledge of the vehicle and you've got something suspicious going on, you want to find out what it is. Software like this, very affordable. Cable, very affordable. You can hook it up, take a look at what's going on, and like if it's a part that's bad, for instance, the emission control system. I've had this on vehicles where a certain sensor on the emission control system is failing. So you find out what it is, you get the part number, you can get that part, Rock Auto, Amazon, any number of places, get it in a couple of days, take the old one off, disconnect the wire, disconnect the hose if you have to, take a couple screws out, put the new one in, hook it back up, and you're back in business. And I've found that those valves are usually, or those different controllers and sensors are like anywhere from $25 to $35 for the most part. Very quick and inexpensive fix. If you're interested in doing that sort of thing, give this a try. If you've enjoyed today's video, well, please click like and consider subscribing to this channel. And please leave comments letting me know what you thought of this video or things you'd like to see added in the future in this type of subject matter. And I can look into showing you some of that. Hopefully, we can improve the output of this channel and give you things that you find even more useful and entertaining. So with that, I thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and enjoy your projects.